Hello and welcome to the fifth episode of Schmitty's Sportscast. This podcast is all about bringing Eastern athletes to you, the people, and to introduce them to everyone watching at home. This week we have a very special guest from the football team, Ja'Wuan Nickson. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Appreciate you for having
So let's just get started right in the episode like we always do. Where were you born and raised?
Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Well, this weekend, the football team is actually playing in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We'll get to that a little bit later. And then, did you play any other sports growing up, or was it just football?
I played basketball, baseball, and football. So I played all three of those growing up. So once I got to high school, I felt like football was the most fun. So that's the sport what I decided to stick with. That's the sport that I'm playing out. So I'm ready for the world.
And then high school, kind of just give me your overall experience at high school.
So classification wise, what was ranked is a 6A team. So, 7A being the highest. So it was a 6A team. Like I said, once again, I went to Hillcrest High School. We was, a pretty good team. We've never won a state championship or whatever, but like I said, we've always been a great playoff team. Had a lot of great talent coming in. And like I said, last year, my senior year of high school, we made it to the semifinals. Don't get a chance to play for the championship if we had won, but like I said, that was fortunate. We lost in the semifinals to Hewattown High School. And like I said, besides that, as far as culture-wise, friends, like I said, it was a great place to go to school at, and like I said, I want to be from nowhere else.
And then from there, I think you went to a junior college. So how did you get there?
So whenever I left high school, I had a couple injuries. I left in the 12th grade year, I had a major shoulder problem. And so after high school, I had to have shoulder surgery, or they had to put 2 screws in my arm. So after that, my coach, he brought me into his office, and he was like, hey, because of this, because of your injury, you may have to go to junior college. And I didn't really know too many people that went to junior college before that. And then, so, he started introducing a couple schools, like Hutchinson, which is in Kansas, Garden City, Kansas as well. Also have a couple JUCOs in Mississippi. But like I said, ultimately, it just, none of those fall through. And then that's where Riverside came up. So I did my research on Riverside. Riverside is a very winning program. And so once I seen, okay, they doing a lot of winning. We used to doing, a great amount of winning in high school. So I'm like, okay, that's something that I might want to be a part of.
With having an injury at like the end of your high school career, I mean, did that affect you like mentally at all or anything like that?
Yeah, it definitely did. Because like I said, I played my last 2 years with a mental block, so to say. So a lot of times I would come in, I try to make a tackle, but like I had, the mental block in my mind thinking, oh, I can hurt my shoulder again, or, it could dislocate. Like I said, that type of fear when you playing the game, like I said, it's fun, but when you have those mental blocks, you will never play how you want to play. Like I said, after I got the surgery, my first year playing, I'm like, okay, get used to it. I tried to, do some things that I was used to doing, and I'm like, okay, shoulder feels good, my rehab went good and everything. So started to get used to it, got used to it, played the first year. Like I said, my second year, I seen no problem. Be like, okay, I feel like I'm back to normal. So that way I'm able to continue doing the things that I was used to doing. So we all good now.
And then now at the community college, and tell me your experience there. What happened there?
Just the overall experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, going out there to California, like I said, on TV, you see all the movies and stuff like that. You hear, LA, San Francisco, San Diego, you hear all about these cities and stuff like that, especially as a kid, whether it's, you look at stuff up online or it may come across in textbook or something like that will ring. But like I said, I always wanted to go out there that way. Yeah, like I said, I got the opportunity, okay, it's in California, pull it up on the map, okay, it's, pull up on the map, it's very close to LA, it look close to San Diego. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be living the dream out there. So like I said, once I got out there, it was very beautiful, man. I was definitely worth it for sure. I got a chance to see a lot of stuff while I was out there, have a lot of fun. Visit those cities that I was talking about, and go to the beaches. It's very diverse up there, all types of people. Like I said, it was definitely a good time.
And then, from the football standpoint, kind of what went on at community college for football?
So, like I said, whenever I was thinking about going out there, I was reading some stuff, and then I seen, okay, they get their kids to Division 1, and they have a lottery. So with that, with you winning and also you getting these kids to where they want to go, is like it seems like a no-brainer almost to, put yourself in a position to try to, get to a school like that. And that's exactly what we did. My first year coming in, we ended up winning a JUCO national championship my first year. And so in the off season, okay, we was working, we was like, okay, try to do exactly what we did. Of course, like I said, when you win and stuff like that, you're gonna lose a lot of players. So the key is to try to recruit as best as you can, to try to have, some new members of the team come in. So try to do that our second year. We won one game. We lost one game there in the regular season, made the playoffs, and then, sadly got down for second round of the playoffs. And so, that was that. But I got love for all my JUCO teammates. First and second year, I still connect with a lot of those guys. I talk to them pretty much every day, almost. Like I said, I never, hate the fact that I had to go to, because like I said, that's something that I embrace, and I'm definitely glad I did. So that's a time that I'll never forget.
And then now came to Eastern Illinois. Kind of how did that come to be?
So as I was playing last year, probably during the fall, after a couple games, a couple coaches on the staff reached out to me. Like I said, I'm gonna do my research on anything, so I'm looking, okay, they out there in Illinois, and like I said, me being from the South and I go to Cali, the first thing come to mind, I think about the weather. I don't really, oh, yeah, like, go from be something to get used to. But like I said, I always wanted to go to visit Chicago or stuff like that, and so that's always been a dream of mine. Side note, I did get a chance to build not too long ago, but so back to that, I seen that, so okay, Eastern Illinois, look at the schedule, see what's going on, see who they have. Like I said, it was a little bit going on back and forth, during the fall. They'll reach out, I'll say something, but it wasn't meant too serious. After the season over, the old defensive coordinator, I thought he was gonna take a chance and offer me, but that never happened. Like I said, fast forward into the spring of this year, Coach Strobel and Coach Noel reached out to me. Coach Noel, my linebacker coach, and Coach Strobel, the DC, they both ended up reaching out to me. They was like, we apologize. We apologize. I think it wasn't for you in the past. So, we had just wanted to, come back to you, get your thoughts. We wanted to make it right. So ultimately they had offered me, once they offered me, I came out here, I came to the spring game. I seen the atmosphere here in Charleston. Like I said, it's a small town, but it gives like a nice, homey feel. It's a welcoming type of town. So once I got home, I talked it over with my family, and like I said, I felt like it's the best place for me to be.
Were there any other places you were looking at other than Eastern?
Yeah, so while I was at spring, I'm at A&M Southern University out in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Uh, Also Western Illinois, which is, our rival in a sense. So I had off from those three as well. And a day or two before I was committed, I picked up Southern Miss. And like I said, once I picked them up, I was thinking, because I was pretty much 100% committed whenever they came into the picture, but I was like, nah, I don't think I'd be able to come because it's so late in the process. I haven't been there. Uh, like I said, I haven't been around none of the coaching. And like I said, it was just so late. So I feel like this would be the best opportunity for me, to come here at Eastern, somewhere where I'm familiar with a little bit. I know, the coaches, I know what they're trying to do here, culture wise. And so, like I said, that's why I feel like this was the best decision.
And then you grew up kind of in the South, and then you went to the West Coast in California. and now you're in a small Midwest town. Kind of what are like the differences between all of them that you've seen and like were like things that just stuck out to you from being in different places?
You want to know the truth? Not this time, like in general, but from Illinois, from what I've been, because like I said, I ended up driving out here. So what I've seen from back home in Tuscaloosa to here, it's really not that much of a difference as far as, Illinois seems flat. Like I said, Alabama's flat. Like I said, I see stuff in the distance and I see like all the trees and stuff like that. It reminds me that I'm at home. Now, if we're talking about the West Coast now, there's definitely night and day difference. So when I first got out to California, driving on the highways as they call it there, which, I'm used to driving on the interstate. So every time you driving on the highway, it's, you pass in different cities. Now, when you back home, it's you drive and you're going to see a lot of trees on both sides of the road. And like I said, you're not going to run into, major towns like that unless you probably 30 minutes to an hour, driving on the road. So like I said, it's obviously Florida is way bigger as well compared to Tuscaloosa. Like I said, it is more to see, especially if you're driving at night because, Cali, where I stayed in Riverside, is called, the IE, the Empire. So it's surrounded by a lot of mountains. So looking at the mountains and stuff at night, man, it's definitely a beautiful sight, compared to here down Tuscaloosa. But like I said, I love all three of them, all three places, Tuscaloosa, Riverside, here. So, like,
You've kind of mentioned it earlier, but it is a lot colder here, especially 2 weeks ago it snowed. How are you dealing with that?
Like back home in Alabama, it's like we get snow every blue moon, but it's not sticking to the past like how it is here. So whenever I ended up going to class, I went to one class that Monday that it snowed a week or two ago. But like I opened up my email and then I seen my teacher say they canceled class because of snow. I instantly got up. I wanted to look outside, see how it was looking. Like it's real deal snow, man. Like I said, it's not something that we see too often in Alabama, especially the stuff that, really sticks to the ground. Like I said, I wasn't out there for long, that's for sure. Like I said, it was a good thing to look at, but it doesn't feel good to be out there in. But like I said, it's here in the next month or so, I'll be able to see some more snow, hopefully, whenever it snows. Like I said, the thing that's also not as fun as playing in the cold as well. So, when it was snowing and it was cold that week, I'll turn that part. It's not a fun thing to be in, but like I said, it's good to see.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that, about playing in the cold, because I know a lot of fans of like NFL teams and stuff will say, "Oh, I love a good cold game, love a good snow game," but those are the fans. So like, how do you feel about playing in the cold?
There was a hot topic going around that said, would you rather play in like 110-degree weather, or would you rather play like below freezing weather? I'm taking 110 degrees every day of the week. Because I say that because the position that I play linebacker, I have to go in, take on a lot of blocks, try to tackle people. And, in the past, I didn't jam some fingers or you get hit the wrong way and that's what hurts, compared to the summer where, or summer/fall, whenever you're playing in that 100-degree heat, you just got to make sure you're very hydrated, well in shape, because, you can drop out there quick, start cramping very bad, which I am a victim of cramping sometimes. So, I have to make sure that I'm as hydrated as possible for it. Like I said, there's definitely a difference. I'd definitely rather play it.
And this year at Eastern, not the greatest season, only 3 wins so far. But from your experience, kind of what has went well for the team?
Me coming in, I can say like this is the greatest like 3 and 18 ever. And then I say that because I go back and we look at the tape every Sunday. It's just some simple mistakes out of like 3 or 4 plays is the determining factor of the game. And that's just how it is at this level. If you make mistakes, team are gonna go out and capitalize them. We've definitely made way more mistakes than our opponent have made, and that shaped our season, to be honest with you. And so if I was to, if we was to go back, we could change those mistakes that we had. I'm telling you, the season would have went 100% different. But like I said, it is what it is now. We learn from those things. So, we go on in the future. We try to correct those so we can be the best team that we could be next year.
On the defensive side of the ball, I feel like most people kind of understand what like a quarterback goes through in his mind. But from like your perspective, even before when the ball is snapped to when the play is over, kind of what is going through your mind? What are you looking for?
So the things that we go by is alignment, assignment, and it's alignment, assignment, and like details or something like that we go by. But so when the formation is snapped, you're gonna see the personnel that they're in. You're gonna look at the formation. My coach is gonna give the call to everybody. Like I said, I've been watching film all week, so I know like, okay, expect these certain plays out of these certain formations. So, if a team is gonna tell you what they're gonna do, then you should have an advantage. So to say, if I know something is coming, that means they shouldn't be able to do it because it's like cheating in a sense. If I know, okay, the teachers are going to ask this question, that means I need to have the answer for the test because it's like there's no way I should get it wrong if I know what's coming. But like I said, I look at the formation, I get the plays, I look and I see, okay, what do I think they're going to run out of this formation? You got to also look at the down and distance, know if it's, okay, 1st and 10, they pretty much can run anything they want to do out of the playbook. 3rd and 3, 9 times out of 10 is going to be closer to a run. 3rd and long, 9 times out of 10, closer to pass. Like I said, they're just the basic grasp of how I look at things as a linebacker. There's far more things, but I say, we'll be here talking all day about this.
So like on the offensive side, I feel like it's usually the quarterback mostly looking at the entire field. Would you say linebacker's kind of doing that same thing, but like on the defensive side of the ball, looking at the offense?
Most definitely. So, QB he's gonna get a play in. He has his checks, just like I have mine on the defensive end. He's gonna look at the defense, gonna try to see what coverage they're in. He has an extra check, what they call a coverage beater that he can check into if he sees something that he likes. Just like on the defense side of the ball with us, we see a certain formation. Okay, we have a certain coverage that, we're very sure of that can stop the play that they're going to run. So, like I said, it's just like that on both sides of the ball for, a linebacker and a quarterback. Looking out and see what the formation, see if you can get the best play and, try to run the best play for them.
And then kind of going away from football, do you have any hobbies you do outside of football?
Yeah, so man, me and my friend, like I said, it is a small town, so it isn't much to do. But like I said, we try to make the best out of what we got out here. We'll sometimes go bowling. We'll sometimes play pool. Like I said, we'll probably go get something to eat or something like that, or we'll go over each other's house and just, all the time, just talking, doing whatever. But like I said, we try to be very close with each other, especially, the holidays and stuff are coming up, so we're not going to be seeing each other as much. So, we try to, get as much time in as we can.
And brought up holidays coming up. Next week is Thanksgiving. Are you doing anything for that? Do you usually go home for family or something like that?
So, because of me playing in California, I haven't been home for Thanksgiving in 2 years. So, this is going to be my first time, going Thanksgiving. Like I said, I'm very proud of that. Said, cooking, man, I'm ready to eat some good food. And if I go home, because as soon as we leave from the Alabama game, I'm gonna come back with the team. I'll drive back out home probably the following day or the day after that. Be able to stay the whole week. My family, catch up with some of my friends. It should be definitely a good time.
And then the Alabama game is this weekend. Are you excited going back home, getting to play in Tuscaloosa?
Most definitely, man. Like I said, growing up in Tuscaloosa, I was lucky enough to be able to see, Coach Nick Saban win all those championships there. I've seen all the Alabama greats come through there, whether it's on offense or defense. Like I said, I've seeing that happen firsthand, living in the city. And also, when I was a kid, you couldn't nobody ever tell me that I wasn't going to Alabama to play for me. Say, like I said, as you got older, things change. And like I said, that's okay. But one dream of mine has always been to either play for them or play against them. Like I said, one of those dreams coming true with me going against them this weekend, man. It's definitely should be a fun time, going back home. Like I said, being able to play in that stadium, because many people, can't say that they ever played against Alabama, especially in that capacity. So, I'm just ready to go out there and have fun.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a fun game in the sense that, I mean, it's a huge stadium playing a top 10 team in the nation right now. Um, but also from like a football standpoint, how do you prepare for a game like that when you know you're facing a team that is so good, they're a level above an FBS level, and then top 10 ranked at that?
So a game like this, you want to make sure you're as sound as you want to be. Going back to what I was saying a couple minutes ago about limiting the mistakes, this is a game that especially if you was to make one mistake, they're going to make you pay every single time with the mistakes that you make. And so, the plan this week has been try to be gap sound on defense. Everybody know what they're supposed to do. Stay gap sound. Another thing, you have to be physical. You have to be physical. Right? What don't. It's going to be a long game for everybody on both sides of the ball. Another thing is it's going to be very loud. So communication and everybody being on the same page is going to have to, it's going to have to happen. Sometime this season, the communication hasn't been as strong, but as weeks gone on and we got to the end of the season, communication has been one of the high points of this team. So especially going out there, how loud it's going to be, everybody definitely is going to have to be on the same page. Make sure everybody's on the same play and stuff like that. So those are the keys of the game.
And I think that's all the questions I had. So I ask one question to every single guest at the very end of the episode. And that question is, if you could be any movie character, anyone, any movie ever created, and you could just pretty much take their life, drop right into the movie universe, who would you be?
Man, I'm a huge Fast and Furious fan. So I would probably want to be Vin Diesel, because it's like, man, he got to drive all of his fast cars, street racing and stuff like that. Like I said, he did heist where, he done stole like $100 million of like, Rio. Like I said, the whole crew has traveled all around the country. And so you telling me I'll be able to travel the country, drive fast cars, do all this stuff, man. It seems like there's nothing else that you're going to do. I have a lot of money. So like I said, he's just like, I think Vin Diesel on this.
What's your favorite Fast and Furious movie?
I will say my favorite one is probably the 5th or the 6th one. Though it's very hard for me to choose in between those two. So like I said, it had to be Fast. It's 5, 6.
Mine personally is Tokyo Drift. I like the music. I like the whole vibe. I don't know. I really like Tokyo Drift songs. But thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you for being a guest on the podcast. And then thank you to everyone watching at home, and make sure to tune in next week to the next episode.